I can call you Mark?
You sure can. Yes.
I should Major. I'm going to defer to Major this whole conversation.
Okay, well, I'll usually answer to anything, but this will work.
Okay, all right, Major. Now, first of all, you guys are coming from Pensacola, is that right?
Absolutely. We're based out of Pensacola, but we do about 32 shows every year. So last week we were actually in Seafair down in Seattle.
So for most of us, we fly commercially from Florida to Seattle. It's going to take us, 5-6 hours, something like that. If you were to fly one of the Blue Angels from Pensacola to SeaTac, to Boeing Field, how long would that take?
Well, it's about 5 hours in Burt to go there. But if you're going to get in a jet, they'll have to land and have to get fuel, or they have to refuel in the air. So they do it about 3.5 or 4. As if they don't land, but they have to find an Air Force plane and air-to-air refuel on the way there.
Okay, but if you were to just go straight, let's say you had the fuel and you could go straight through,
I think they're about 3.5 hours, 4 hours for the jets. Yeah,
that's the way to go. And how miles per hour? What is that going?
It's probably about I'd say probably about 450 miles an hour ish. Yeah, Mach 0.7, Mach 0.8.
All right, I'll give you some of these questions that the listeners have had during the maneuvers. What is the closest one wingtip could come to another wingtip?
Well, wingtip to wingtip, I'm not exactly sure, but I know some of the maneuvers, like especially the diamond at the beginning, so they'll do a diamond 360, and those guys, they really are about 18 inches apart. When these jet guys are flying, if the canopy wasn't there on the F-18, they could literally reach up and potentially smack the other airplane without the canopy there.
But you keep the windows closed.
Yeah, it's a little too a lot of airflow through there without the windows on.
I've heard NASCAR drivers say, they might get it up to 200 miles an hour, and they say, for most of us, if we were going 200 miles an hour, we couldn't make anything out the window. But they say after a while they get used to it, and they can actually make out people in the stands. Yeah, I saw a woman drink a beer or whatever. I could see this guy eating a hot dog. You're going 400 miles an hour. What can you really do? Do your eyes ever adjust to that where you can see things like that?
Well, most of the time you're looking at boss, so you got to make sure they're going to watch boss and not be looking out, especially when they're flying that close. So they're not looking outside. I imagine boss can look outside and pick stuff out, but he's got to look on the ground and all of his ground tracks and stuff. So he looks out. He'll see the hangar, he'll see some of the big roads here, and he'll find that, and that's what he uses to line up on.
So you're not just going by instrument at that, you're looking right out.
Oh, yeah, so the jets have a checkpoint, so they'll look and they'll say, like, I got to line up this wingtip with this rivet on the airplane, or with the Hornet is painted on the side of it, and they'll line up, basically one of the fins with the O, and that's kind of some of their sets.
How many G's can the human body take before you black out?
Typically, it's about 8 to 9-ish in there, that's it with training. So the Thunderbirds, these guys here, they'll pull probably about 6 to 8 sometimes, but the average person's probably gonna go out about 4 or 5 if you haven't trained and done a little work on it.
I would pass out at you think take a look at me. What do you think? How many G's and I'm gone?
Yeah, I think we take about 15 minutes to work with it. You could probably do about 6, no problem. Yeah.
Okay, now this question here, Wendy asks, she says, part of a Blue Angels performance usually shows a jet flying very slowly, so much so that it appears it could drop from the sky. How slow is it actually going? And then she wants to know the top speed reached during a performance.
All right, so if you watch, you'll see the high alpha maneuver. I think is what she's talking about, is when the two solos, they kind of creep down the show line. The Canadian F-18 does that as well, but they're going about 150, 160 miles an hour, kind of like that. And then later on in the performance, you'll see 5 do what we call the sneak, and he'll be going about 650 miles an hour, about 10 feet off the runway down through here on the show line.
All right, and the last one is eating before you fly. Can you eat before you fly? What can you take in before you fly?
Well, absolutely. So all the G's, they take a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy on your body, so they're doing a lot of straining. They're doing it to keep the blood in their head. That's why you pass out from the G forces. So our hearts are really good at pumping blood into our head now at 1 G, which we all are. But as soon as you start getting more and more G's, the heart can't work as well. So a lot of times they'll squeeze their butt, squeeze their legs and your abs to keep the blood in your head. So basically, once these guys get done, they've been doing about 45 minutes of hard, intense exercise of squeezing all the muscles to force the blood in their head during all these high G maneuvers. So you have to eat. You got to have a good nutrition. You got to drink water, and usually an empty stomach makes you much more airsick if you're a passenger. So you should always have some food before you fly.
Thank you very much, Major. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.